Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I welcome all of you to the World United channel. So today we're going to have one of the first digital panel discussion on the World United platform. And the reason that we're all gathered today here is in the wake of the recent Bollywood celebrity Sushant Rajput's demise. We want to bring some light on how to come out of the mental illness. So that is the topic of focus for today's discussion. I'll quickly introduce the panel to everyone, and after that we'll jump right into the first question around the table. So first here, we do have Dr. Prabhakar Korda Garu, who is the professor and is a past president of Andhra Pradesh, state of Andhra Pradesh branch of Indian Psychiatric Society. Welcome. And we have Kwanto Shivoji. He's a spiritual guide and a well-known astrologer. Next on the panel, we have Jyoti Taneja, who is a professor and also a socio-spiritual activist. She's an educationist from Indore joining us here today. And we have Dr. You Candor Garu, by profession a general surgeon, but also a spiritual guide. Welcome. Next, we have Dr. Sirish Kumar Bosley, a spiritual scientist. He's a retired scientist, but he joined us to share his views from his point of view. And we also have Shobha Bantula, who is a clinical psychologist. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I also see Dr. Rajanish, which we call him, but his name is also Dr. Yugandhar Reddy, a well-known neurologist joining us from Andhra Pradesh, Nellore, Andhra Pradesh. Welcome. Okay, so we'll jump right into it. So would like to hear from each one of you. Please share your views on the mental illness in the wake of recent celebrity demise of Sushant Rajput. So we'll go one by one. So first, Dr. Prabhakar Korda Garu, can you please share your views to our audience?
Regarding the film star's recent unfortunate suicide, I have to take a different stand from the routine that I feel, and it is scientifically proven, that it is not just the victim of suicide who is responsible for his suicide, nor just the family members who are responsible for the suicides, but many times it is the society which contributes and encourages and abets the suicide act. Here, in particular, I would like to focus on the role of the mass media, who, by glorifying the suicides, increase the number of suicides in the society. This is called copycat suicides. For example, if a celebrity dies, like Marilyn Monroe in 1962, she took overdose of sleeping pills and committed suicide. The American media gave a lot of hype to this, and they repeatedly started focusing on her suicide and the way she committed suicide, etc. As a result, there was a 12% rise in the suicide rate in America. Alex Masoudi from Queen Mary University, England, tried to correlate between the mass media reports and the rise in the suicidal rates of 12% in the case of Marilyn Monroe's death. and he found that there is a positive link. It is very unfortunate that many times when a celebrity commits suicide, the mass media goes out of the way, including the politicians go out of the way in glorifying the suicide, almost like encouraging the vulnerable population to do the same. In fact, I would like to bring to your notice about one book, The Sorrows of Young Werther, written by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a famous German politician, statesman, writer, scientist, all in one. He had written this book, Sorrows of Young Werther. Von Goethe was in love with a girl at the age of 20, in his early 20s, and unfortunately, it was a triangular situation where the girl could not respond to him. So, but he was too young and was too emotionally involved that he could not contain his emotions, and he wrote a book, The Sorrows of Young Werther, in which the protagonist, that's Werther, the hero of the book, commits suicide in the end. The explanation was so graphic that many times many youngsters dressed like young Werther, and they kept the page open where the suicide was described, and they committed suicide, shot themselves just like young Werther had done. So much so that many countries in Europe were very much concerned, and they banned the book. This is called copycat suicides, and the way mass media is reporting copycat suicide without following the guidelines of Austria Media guidelines or WHO guidelines on suicide reporting, I'm sorry, there'll be a lot of innocent deaths in future.
Thank you. Thank you for that view, Dr. Prabhakar Garu. Thank you so much. So next, we'd like to hear from you, Dr. Rajnish Garu, also known as Yugandhar Reddy Garu. Can you please share, unmute yourself and share your views on the same? Yeah, Rajnish Garu, you can start talking now. Please share us your views on the mental illness. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the World United first live. Welcome to the World United first panel discussion. Congratulations. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, this discussion first time actually from mental illness and psychological issues we are going through, except from many spiritual, in-depth spiritual videos and in-depth spiritual analysis and debates. And this is actually need of the hour. This is a very timely picked up topic. I must appreciate Dr. Yugandhar sir for this topic. I'm a practicing neurologist in southern part of Andhra Pradesh. Though psychiatrists mainly encounter these suicidal ideas, patients with suicidal ideas, I too have a mixed up patients with chronic pain, chronic migraines, anxiety disorders. I too have some mixed up cases with neurological problems. Especially chronic migraine patients have associated depression and anxiety disorders. So these patients usually, when I inquire, specifically put a question that do we have any suicidal idea, majority of patients come up with about their suicidal thoughts. Some people have even tried suicide, seriously tried suicide, and they were again probably seriously planning to commit suicide. It's a very hidden. It's like a common. When I come to see many patients, I found this is a very common a common thing. Not it is more than what we imagine. Many people, they suffer with suicidal ideas, but they don't express unless you poke them with repeated questioning. Because of shame, they usually submerge and they don't expose those thoughts. But when I encourage them to open up, then gradually they will tell they actually have these suicidal thoughts repeatedly. So coming to general idea about who commits suicide, there is actually there is no particular pattern. It won't pertain to certain age group, certain social group. Uh, Particularly, it won't specifically pertain to one age group or one segment of people. It is all pervading. It is socially, it won't discriminate anyone. Even a big millionaire can commit a suicide. A poor farmer can commit a suicide. There is no particular social pattern. As uh, many think that Yugandhar sir yesterday was pointing out quite clearly, the suicide has a childhood roots. Um, their childhood trauma, childhood patterns, they emerge when they are in low energy levels, when they are very much challenged, very much cornered in their life. Those traumatic thought patterns will emerge, and they be provoked to commit this suicide. So these are my views.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajneeshwar. Thanks for sharing. Next, would like to hear from you, Quanto Shivaji. Can you please share your views? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, hello everyone, and delighted to be here. And I would like to present a spiritual perspective to suicide. I would say there are three kind of people who commit suicide. One are obviously the people who are facing extreme hardships of life, like we keep hearing of farmer suicide. Second kind of people are who are very materially dependent and they look at the world as physical and do not have a spiritual understanding. So they define themselves as what is my success? What do I have? How much money do I have? So when you start to define yourself through what you have and through how people deal with you, the moment there is a small fall into that fortune, you would not be able to cope up with that. And that is what happens with a lot of celebrities. We have seen a lot of celebrities committing suicide. In US, there was a time when there was a spate of suicides among fashion designers, models, and they are the one who were living the complete party life, and they were the one who portrayed that we are having just too much fun and there is so much glamour. But what happens in that glamour? Life becomes meaningless. You are dependent upon something for your joy. You have not discovered the joy within. So spiritually speaking, uh, when your aura gets compressed inside your body, you are depressed. When your aura should ideally be flowing all around your body, and when you have aura around your body, you will feel ecstatic and joyful. And it does not depend on what you have or what you don't have. You just are staying in your aura and you are blissful. And in that state, if there is any up and down, you can take it. But when our identification is totally with material, any failure will trouble us, and we will feel as if life has lost all the meaning. Uh, I would say in current times, for past after 1997, because of certain astronomical reasons, the pace of life has changed so much that our sense of control over life has gone. So the people who for whom it is very important to have life under their control, they are in very deep trouble right now. So we need to learn to flow with life. Though the people who live in the surrender, in the they are the one who can really live with chaos. So I will just complete with the, because I said there are three categories of people. Third category of people is people who have seen a lot of success and everything, but then they would say, oh, what is the meaning of life? I have seen everything, yet I don't find anything meaningful. So what is the point of living? So they commit suicide. Like the great philosopher Nietzsche used to say, that once you have lived through what all life has to offer, there is nothing else you can do except suicide. So these are three kind of people, and the basic thing is depression is your aura shrinking inside your body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shivaji, for that insight. So next, would like to hear from Jyoti Tanejaji. Can you please unmute so we can hear you? Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. My humble pranam to my dear Baba, to all the enlightened masters, Master Shiva, Dr. You Candor, and the other learned panelists. I'll just name them: Dr. Prabhakar, Dr. You Candor Reddy, Dr. Bhosle, Dr. Shobha Madam, and all the participants present here. You know, in fact, I'm just nothing, to be honest here, and I'm extremely grateful to Dr. You Candor, who has given me this opportunity to speak something about the mental illness and the suicides and the depression, the sadness which is prevailing in this, prevalent times. What, according to me, is, since I'm a teacher, and it's almost 29 years that I've been teaching, and I have observed students very closely. I've observed even teachers very closely, the parents, and even the other peons and other class 3 and 4 employees. Basically, the problem is, as what just Master Shiva said, that we are related and connected more to the material world and less to our own self. We say we are religious. Okay, no harm. Even if one is religious, one should be, I think, connected to God then. And if you're connected to God, you feel that God is your creator. This is what you say. If God is your creator, then whatever is happening in your life, the creator knows better, I think. That would be faith. If you have faith in some God. If you are, let us say, spirituality has got nothing to do with the religion here at all. Spirituality is simply connecting, this is what my view is, simply connecting to something which is bigger than yourself, something which is larger than yourself, and something which will result in some positive emotions like love, kindness, acceptance, gratitude. We hear of so many things. If you are connected to all these emotions, then I think your state of mind should be positive. It should have a broader outlook. And if one has a broader outlook, if one has all these positive emotions, how can one think of committing suicide? I think nobody would ever try to go into depression. Why all these talks today that we are having? Why in this lockdown period so many people were, depressed, sad, bored? This is what they said. I'll just tell you, I had a talk with one of my friends. She's staying in Goa during this lockdown period. And it's just like, we asked, how are you? So I asked her, what did she say? She's a spinster. She said, I'm enjoying partial vipassana. That is the attitude. It is partial vipassana. If you are isolated, if you are kept away from the world, are you not in a way being kept in a meditative retreat where you are all by yourself, where you have got time to think about yourself, observe your emotions, and observe whatever is happening around you? Otherwise, in this chaotic world, and when we are busy with our jobs, you know, we hardly get time to sit still. And
Thank you.
a mind which is confused, a mind which is not still, cannot have positive emotions, cannot be loving, cannot be kind, it cannot be even responsible. Because if you're responsible, definitely you will respond to your own self very well. And you will keep yourself in the best of emotions that you can have, whatever may be happening around. So as Dr. Yugandhar has also been saying, stay in the present. That was the best outlook during this time. Focus,
Thank you.
be present, and do your best. I think that is what spirituality is about. So just stay connected to yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the message, Jyoti ji. Next on the line, we have none other than Dr. Yugandhar, sir, the man behind this platform creation. So can you please share your views?
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to see many panelists and other participants joining together for the great occasion of sharing our views on mental illness. There are so many people in the world who enjoyed a lot of reputation, lot of glamour, a great level of social status, financial abundance, and rich in every which way. But what I feel personally, the main cause of any mental illness is to understand the concept of being happy for a reason. As long as you are happy for a reason, you will definitely be unhappy one day. If you can cultivate the habit of being happy without any reason whatsoever, then you will be eternally happy. And you cannot understand the meaning of mental illness. You can never understand. As adults, we need to teach the same to all the children as early as possible. Why I'm saying all these things is, if you take the list of suicides, which is a global 1 in 10,000 people dying of suicide, the person who invented FM radio, Edwin Armstrong, he committed suicide. Dale Carnegie, who was very, very influential personal development motivational speaker, committed suicide. Ernest Hemingway, a very, very reputed author, a Nobel laureate in literature, he committed suicide. Marilyn Monroe, early 30s, committed suicide. Adolf Hitler, the man behind Second World War, who has shaken the world, he committed suicide. Sigmund Freud, who is almost called as the father of modern psychology, he committed suicide. A Jew, just because he is unable to bear cancer pain, committed suicide. And there are notorious murderers. Robert Aldrin, who was a murderer, he committed suicide with 50 stab injuries out of guilt. So people who are very famous, very reputed, having everything, they're still committing suicide because of maintaining the status quo. A celebrity wants to maintain a status quo. He identifies himself with the reputation that is given by others. Happiness, the reason is fanfare. And the fanfare is lost, he is lost. So as long as you are happy for a reason, you can never be happy. So we should cultivate the habit of to be happy without any reason whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the views. Next, we would like to hear from you, Dr. Shirish ji.
Yeah, let me unmute.
Sure. We can hear. You are muted now, sir. Please unmute. Okay.
Yeah,
Now you're good.
it's okay now. Okay, audible.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm going to share my story rather, which is a 42 years old story. When I was 25 years old rather. Thing is that now basically I am from a rural university, a merit scholar, rank holder, and whatnot. And then fortunately, I mean, from a conservative family, and then managed to get admission in IIT, where the total cultural shock was there, because the IIT is a place having students from a different background, and the medium of communication was English. All the time, actually, I was very nervous and hardly interacted with any of my friends. That was my difficulty. But for registration of our PhD, we had to undergo a course, rather a difficult course. And one of the subject we had some foreign language. So German I had selected, and all the classmates were very fluent in German and all. But somehow I managed to complete that registration and came out with the flying colors. And that was the only hurdle when I found this is my nervousness started rather. I have a tough time ahead. And then my PhD work started. And then somehow it was like finding a needle in the dark, and I didn't see any ray of light on the other side of the tunnel. I was totally frustrated, rather, means I was nervous, frustrated, and then actually I didn't mix with any one of my friends, and there was hardly any participation in any of the events in hostel, and people could see the symptoms. The symptoms were visible, and they thought, because in IITs there were many suicidal cases, and everybody thought that I'm getting nervous, I'm getting depressed, and the symptoms are visible. Then let us keep a watch on this guy. So then my case was somehow, it was getting aggravated day by day. So one of my friends took me to my parents' place. Rather, he escorted and put me with my parents and told them, this is what has happened with this, your son. And okay, then my parents decided to go for a professional advice. And then the doctor discussed with me separately in confidence. And then later on, he suggested, recommended some beta blockers, some tranquilizers, sedatives. And I was very weak. My muscles were very weak. So some dynamol injections were also administered at regular intervals. And there was no progress even after 8-10 days. My parents were worried. But this guy is losing confidence. Even for going to washroom also, he wants one of us to be there waiting outside. So what is wrong with this? Actually, my son is good for nothing. That's what my father used to say. So he was a bit worried, because then fortunately it so happened, my parents left village and came to city, and along with the two grandchildren, rather my nephew and niece. My doctor brother continued his work in the village itself, and then I had two wonderful kids around. So I was in association of these small kids. I used to repair their toys, and then I used to play with them, and then I used to listen to their stories. And then we assembled one telescope. Then we started going for bird watching, and slowly I gained confidence, rather. And then I thought that I should stop my dependency on the medicines, because I'm very comfortable with the small kids, and then I should continue. And this is the medicine I have found. I told my doctor, now I have decided to stop and dip my dependency on medicine. I said, okay, if you're comfortable, go with it. And it took 6 months for me to regain confidence. And meantime, it so happened, when my IIT professor, he came to know about the problems which I faced, and I discontinued my education. But he submitted some reports to the government, and work which I undertook, rather, was appreciated by the government, and lot of funds were granted, rather. And then he said, okay, if better you join and lead a team of 4 scientists and complete the task which we have undertaken. So I did so. I went back and completed my PhD work as well, but I started working on my mental health. Regularly, I used to visit Chinmay Ashram for meditation. Then I continued my bird watching hobby also. I joined Bombay Naturalistic Society. I followed Salim Ali, his followers of me, Dr. Grab and all. Then stargazing was another hobby I picked up, rather. So fortunately, I had interaction with Dr. Narvikar. And then I took a lot of interest in whatever is under the sun. I read J. Krishnamurti's book, And of course, I stopped reading Dale Carnegie's book for obvious reason, which Dr. Yugandhar also mentioned. When I came to know that he committed suicide, then I stopped reading all this. But J. Krishnamurti's books I followed, his teachings I liked. And these difficult situations which I faced initially during my studies and all. But actually, when I started working on myself, I used to practice this recitation of Ram Raksha, then some in Marathi, this Manache Shlok we call it Ramadas Swami rather, the spiritual master of Shivaji Maharaj. He wrote some shlokas for mind training, and also regularly I used to read a lot about that. And somehow I gained confidence, but still I'm continuing this working on myself rather. And there is no second bout of any depression rather. So that's what I want you to say. So with the association with Dr. Yugandhar, I think I will continue to remain confident forever.
Thank you, Hariji.
Yeah, thank
you. Okay. Next on the line we have Shobha Bantula.
Good
ma'am,
evening,
can you
everyone.
please share your? Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts on the current crisis like this. Okay. I'm a mental health professional. I'm a clinical psychologist who see people who are in anxiety or depression on a daily basis. Let me give you my view, okay? You have given me your view of how people can come out of depression, how they can, and what makes for it. From my clinical experience, I can say that there are 3 ways of looking at this problem. For example, there is something called as sad persons. This is an acronym. You can figure out like later. Sad persons means S is sex. If it's a male, then the chances of him suiciding and successfully executing the suicide is more. If it's a female, the attempts are more, but the successful execution is very less. Okay, that's one part. Next is age. Age is less than 19 or more than 45. Okay, this is also one part. These are all the components which come into what makes a person more prone to suicide than others. There's a clear evidence as to what kind of people, and there's a scale developed also. It's easy. Anybody can do it. All doctors can do it. When you see anybody, it's a clear indication that this person is more at risk of suiciding than others. Okay. Next is previous attempts. You can see cut marks here. You can see some burn marks. It's a clear indication. You will see this with the people who, especially women do this. They have cuts. Especially these women could be diagnosed of emotionally unstable personality disorder, or it is otherwise called as borderline personality disorder. This is one thing. And there's another way of looking at suicide, which is bipolar depression also. When there's a bipolar, person is diagnosed of bipolar, and sometimes the onset is in late 20s or even early 30s also. In that case, depression comes like within a day. The highs and lows are, you can see within hours, there can be a change. Impromptu. Suddenly, this depression, you could have seen this movie called 3. Okay, wherein Dhanush was diagnosed of bipolar disorder. A simple visit to a psychiatrist, inpatient admission, and giving him medicines would have worked. This is a psychotic episode wherein they are hearing voices that please go kill yourself. Then the pressure for them to kill themselves is more, which is organic, and it has to be treated only with medicines. Now, coming to the attempts that are made by others, like in the case of Sushant, we see that clearly there were indications from 6 months on. For example, he had tweeted, okay, we had recent tweet coming in from, I think, January 5th, 10 days ago. We have clearly seen the tweets. And he was single also. And next is, he has lost his rational thinking. If you see, there were reports coming out from people. Even Mukesh Bhatt has commented that he was not all right. He was going in Parveen Babi's way. I'm sure he has seen clearly what Parveen Babi, she also went through psychotic episodes and eventually later suicide. She became suicidal. And next is, if somebody is single, divorced or widowed, there are higher chances. In this case, this person was clearly single and he was trying to get married, but that's not, usually that age group look forward to getting married, right? And there was no social support. Clearly, there were no offers in his hand.
but that doesn't mean that everybody will go on suicide. It's clearly a personality thing wherein they cannot take the defeat in. Now, coming to the other factors, I see clearly the family factors. Looks like the family has played a very higher importance of achievement and all that, given the fact that you see that there is a history of he achieving rank 7 in his All India engineering entrance, right? So that is one thing. And even as a person himself also, you could see that, whenever things were not going in his way, he would clearly get easily upset. So this was a clear indication for everybody in the industry. I think this is one systemic failure in terms, a big industry like a Bollywood industry cannot have a mental health cell for them, is my question. Number one. Number two, at a family level, his sister also was clearly aware of what kind of a distress he was going through. At a personal level anyway, he was coming short of coping mechanisms as to how to deal with ongoing crisis that he was going through in the industry. Next, social level. I think the fact that we were having lockdown also precipitated, as in he did not have opportunities to go out. And according to me, I think he was even having his own, he was being treated. I'm sure in India, all the psychiatrists know that only by giving medication, it cannot be solved, especially when people are in low mood, especially when
Shobhaji?
people have, yeah.
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 I know that
So-
we are going to cover other aspects also in the next rounds, the treatment modalities and the root causes. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to get a brief overview in the first
Sure.
round. And then, yeah.
Yeah. So here, multiple factors played a role, family-wise, personality factors also played a role, social and systemic factors also played a role in why a person suicided, why not others. Okay. This is my view on this particular case.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think next we have Dr. Manohar. So can you please unmute and share your brief views on this? So you're muted. Can you please unmute?
Dr. Manohar, please unmute yourself, please.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, you can start. Yes. Yeah, can
I'm
you
Dr.
please
Manohar
briefly
Pawar.
share? Yeah.
Yes, I'm Dr. Manohar Pawar. I'm a psychiatrist from Pune. Hello.
Yes,
Hello?
sir. You're audible. Yeah. Please continue.
I'm interested in, spiritual aspects of the suicide, but we are discussing general suicidal problems and other things. What remedial suggestions you can give in this spiritual way so that people will be refrain from this type of thing? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Discussion should be regarding spiritual ways, how we can cope up with the thing.
Okay. So yes, so we will cover on that specific view in the next rounds on how do what are the methods and modalities to address this situation of mental illness.
Yes.
So before we go there, so just would like to go round the table again. So we heard from everyone so far on their high-level overviews like copycat suicides, shameful feelings. How do we recognize these, etc. So what are the main root causes for these conditions to develop the mental illness, particularly suicide? If you could share under a minute in the wake of time limits we have, each one of you, that would be great. And after that, we'll talk about what are the methods to address this illness. Okay, so we'll start again with Dr. Prabhakar.
Yes.
So what do you think are the main reasons for this mental illness, sir? So can you please share the top reasons that you think briefly?
I would like to stick to my earlier stand of societal influence on suicide rate. The societal circumstances, how they influence the suicidal rate. So for this, I have given you the example of copycat suicides and how that book, Sorrows of Young Werther, was banned by many European countries. And to give you one example also, in 2008, in the small town of Bridgend in Britain, suddenly young boys and girls, many of them started committing suicide for no reason. They are all healthy children. Later on, when they investigated, they found that one of them died and somebody else has set up a memorial on the website, and people started writing stories and poems and glorifying the dead person. And this has influenced the innocent youngsters. So that's why my point here is the remedies. You are asking about remedies. So apart from what you are talking about medicines, I would like to still stick to the societal aspect, that our mass media should follow the guidelines laid down by the Austria media guidelines in reporting suicides. We have similar World Health Organization guidelines too on suicides and Indian guidelines too. Mass media should strictly follow and make sure that they should not glorify suicides. Glorification of suicides encourages vulnerable youngsters to copy the same, and it ends up in copycat suicides.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you,
think
sir.
I stand very clearly, and organizations like the World United should sensitize the journalists in while reporting suicides. For example, they put up the big photographs in the front page reserved for world leaders, and then they romanticize the death, saying that oh, she has finally gone to her heaven to meet her boyfriend or whatever, and sometimes blaming the people, simplifying the causes of the suicide, like died because of mother-in-law's harassment. How do you know that the mother-in-law's harassment killed her? It is quite possible that the victim might have harassed the mother-in-law also. We have to be open from both sides, and the cause of suicide may be severe depression. So there are many things. Austria media guidelines and World Health Organization guidelines are there. World United can have a separate session to sensitize the journalists. I think this will go a long way, because copycat suicides are increasing because of the mass media. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the input and the suggestions for future sessions as well. But okay. So next, the way we are going, so I think we can address the 2 points of view in this round: the root causes, and also what do you think is the remedy? How do we address this situation? So next, I would like to hear from you, Shivaji.
Yes. So I would like to mention 2 points here, and one of them is going to be very controversial and very taboo. But I think we need to be very courageous and daring to face certain truths which we have always been sweeping under the carpet. Let me just share the first view, which is not controversial, then I'll come to the second taboo one. So the reason of suicide is we want to keep our life in our control. We have a fixed outcome, and when that fixed outcome does not happen, we consider that as our failure. And the failure is simply we can't take. We haven't developed the view that every failure is also a divine blessing. God sends us failure so that we can take a jump from there. This understanding is missing. as I said, that depression is what? It is the crunching of your aura or your vibrational field or your magnetic field inside your body. Now, how do you expand your aura beyond your body? So there are three ways for that. One is our aura is crunched because of our own subconscious issues. So when we have issues like fear, like control stored in our subconscious, it is going to crunch our aura. So we need to deal with our subconscious, dissolve it. And there are wonderful ways which has been suggested for so long by great masters. And first master who suggested the great way was Krishna, who explained what is called Sakshi Bhav, observation. And then after that, Buddha suggested uh, Vipassana, to observe your samskaras and dissolve. So these are the ways to dissolve your subconscious. Let me come to the conscious ways of expanding your soul. If you connect with people who are authentic and loving, your own soul will expand because you have the real experience of love. But when you are connected with people around you who are manipulative, who are trying to, take benefit of you, or you are trying to take benefit of them, when we have these transactional manipulative relationship, when the love is gone, uh, uh, our aura will crunch. So when you have the experience of love, uh, and so like I think Dr. Bhosle was suggesting through his own experience that when he started to play with kids, depression kind of got sorted out because kids are very pure. They have not yet developed that manipulation. So your soul will also expand with them. So that is the second way. Now, the third way is connecting to the superconscious. So when we have our own magnetic field and there is a cosmic magnetic field, and there are simple ways to connect with that. Like he suggested stargazing or bird watching, or go to any natural place where you can look at the empty skies. So the more space you connect with, the point is that the whole electromagnetic field of the space, when you are connected with that, so look at the empty sky, enjoy that emptiness, and suddenly you would see that your soul start to expand. So these are the ways to deal uh, with the depression issues. But now I'll come to a very, very taboo topic, and I have to say this. Um, I know there will be a lot of people who may say, "What am I talking about?" But one of the problem with the science is when something is so apparent, just because it cannot be defined by science yet, so we deny it. And I'm talking about the ghost. In past 20 years, the vibrations of the world has grown so much that the divine, the Davic as well as Asuric, both the forces are there with full flow in the world. And it has made connecting with the devas, the gods and goddesses, very easy. But at the same time, it has also made us very vulnerable to the Asuric entities which are flowing around, including ghosts. And there is, if you do research, there is a huge amount of onslaught of black magic that is happening. And I consider that is the greatest epidemic today. And when people have strong subconscious, these forces can capture your subconscious and they can prompt you into things like suicide. And I would say that the ghost is the best explanation for the split personalities or bipolar disorders. And we have simply been denying. But I'm very happy to see that the quantum science today acknowledges. In fact, there are certain quantum scientists. I am forgetting the name, but uh, he wrote a book, something like Synergetic Universe or something. I'm forgetting the name. There there is a quantum scientist who clearly said that yes, according to the quantum science, ghosts do exist. and there are ways to deal with them, and we need to really take this factor into account also. I know it's a very taboo topic, and I have probably touched the hardness, touched something like, something very, very difficult, but I think I have to say this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Shivaji. So next, we'd like to hear from Dr. Yugandhar Reddy. Sir, can you please share your views in addition to what you shared earlier? And what do you think are the root causes, and what are the methods to address?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Actually, a common man thinks any hurdle, any burden in this life as a curse. Any something good happens, you will think it's a blessing. This thinking usually is a common man's pattern of thinking. But what a warrior thinks is, when he is happy, he should be very careful. He should be more careful than when he is grieved. Because happiness means excitement. Many terms, it is actually it's an excitement. So when you identify with the happiness, is some certain kind of material pleasures, something good happens in your life, then when you are completely addicted to that kind of living, suddenly life is bound to throw you so many troubles at you. So while facing those troubles, definitely you will get depressed. So identifying happiness, excitement, only happiness I want, other than happiness I don't want. This kind of pattern of thinking is a very common, predominant, common way of thinking of many people. But a warrior, instead of looking at happiness and sadness, he always thinks it is a challenge. He always maintains the eagle's eye point at any given situation. For example, any happiness or sadness, the thoughts of sadness or happiness, those are actually, if you imagine, those are like clouds. The warrior always go above the clouds like an eagle. He always watches both happiness and sadness equally. They are playing on the screen of his mind. He is not attached anyway. But you don't bother what type of thought is coming. It's a positive thought or a negative thought. You never get carried away by thoughts. Basically, is identified. I don't want to call this word identified, but to understand this, is always in a state of silence, because he knows his true nature is silence. So in the state of silence, no positive thought or a negative thought would affect him. So that is a warrior's way. He always looks everything with a non-judgmental way. So, for example, if you face a very difficult situation, you walk like a warrior. Let us see what happens. This kind of attitude should be developed by everyone, because most of the people, they live in an unconscious life. They mechanically they live. If something good happens, they are happy. If something bad happens, they are worried. So this type of mechanicalness, sometimes that bad thing happens in such an extent, such an intensity, they will reach an escape velocity, and they lose their physical form, that is called as suicide. They revolve in an outer orbital. Suddenly, if some thirst comes, they will develop a escape velocity, they lose their life. Interestingly, there is another word I want to, another form of suicide. We can't call it as suicide. I want to ask Dr. Yugandhar sir. There is called as Samadhi, Jeeva Samadhi. This is physically, in physical world, if you look at them, they are actually voluntarily, they enter into a Samadhi and close themselves. That is a Jeeva Samadhi. Like it's like, it's a royal walk off from this physical world. They have done enough thing. Their journey is over. They say goodbye to this world, and happily, it's like a celebration. Everybody will come and they will chant mantras. They do pujas. So many, like a festival they do, and they sit in a samadhi. They close themselves. So many yogis I have in our experience we have seen. So the greatest way of probably the one of the greatest way of living this physical world, that is completely different thing. We cannot compare these things. Actually, I want to listen. What is the difference between this Jeeva Samadhi and suicide from Dr. You Candor, sir?
Okay. I think he just stepped out, so we'll get him
If I may permitted, I would
to
like
answer
to
this.
answer this question. If the chair
Okay,
permits,
I think he's back.
answer to this question.
Yeah.
See,
So,
Jiva Samadhi and suicide are two different things. In Jiva Samadhi, the person does not die. He goes into a Samadhi and he may live there for a few years or even a few centuries. For example, Raghavendra Swami, Veera Brahmendra Swami, they have lived for hundreds of years in Jiva Samadhi. Jiva Samadhi is not suicide. At a time, appointed time, when their work is over, the soul leaves the body. Whereas suicide is pathological. Suicide is giving up, forceful death. It is. Jiva Samadhi is not forceful death. It's a voluntary. It is not death. They transform. They put themselves in a state of, broadly speaking, we can call it suspended animation, but that is not the right word. So it is not a pathological thing. It's a highly spiritual condition. So we cannot equate or compare suicide to Jiva Samadhi.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yugandhar Reddy, I think, yeah, Dr. Yugandhar have joined. So can you please rephrase your question? Yeah, can you please rephrase?
Actually, there is no such thing as comparing suicide with Jiva Samadhi. They are entirely different. I know that. Actually, physical world, if you look at so many organizations now, some rational people nowadays, they are condemning this Jiva Samadhi, because if you look at the friend of Sadhguru, Jaiki Vasudev Sadhguru, his name, he lives in Karnataka. He wanted to go for Jiva Samadhi. Some organizations, these rational organizations, actually put a case on court, and it's something like suicide. No, this is something out of context, but I just want to know if they are completely different together. This like it's a voluntary, it's a divine thing they are committing. They are beyond death. They know they are beyond death. They can control death. They are just royal walk-ins. They just come and they just go. This suicide is completely, as you said, Dr. Boshle, Dr. Doctor was saying, it's giving up. Yeah. It's just giving up. It's hands up. So many friends. One of my friends.
I think you are muted.
Yeah. Actually, one of my colleague is a doctor. He asked me. He's into spiritual path. Recently, he put a question to me, saying that I have made bad choices in my world and in my life, and I am facing a lot of problems because of bad choices. They are beyond repair. So, what if I commit a suicide and start all new again? I actually reminded him about Swami Parahamsa Yogananda's quote: "If you die like an idiot, you will born again as an idiot, because death has no significance on your evolution. Death is just a transformation, one body to another. Your thought patterns, your stage of evolution will not change. You will again born like an idiot. So never give up. So this journey has to go. You have to evolve. There is no other way other than to evolve." That is a suggestion I given from him.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we'd like to hear from Jyoti ji. Briefly, yeah. So if you could combine from your point of view the root causes and how we should address, and so this will use it at the last round of.
See, I've been teaching
discussion.
students, as I told you, since last 29 years. And just in last 5 to 6 years, I have seen 3 students, And this is one big reason that students were committing suicide. So we have got psychological this counseling centers in every school and college these days. One boy, he was in his second year, hardly 19 years of age. And I was teaching him, and I used to find that the boy was, always looking out of the class. He was not in the class. I would ask him something, he was lost. He didn't know. But somehow, very slowly, he came up with his, problem. He came out of the class. He said, "Ma'am, aap kisi ko bolenge to nahi?" I said, "No, I'll not share it with anyone." What happened? Because I could make out there is something wrong with this boy. You are saying, what are the reasons? The one reason was this boy belonged to Delhi. He was studying in Indore. And I asked him, why have you left Delhi and you've come here? Your parents are there, very rich class, affluent family background. The problem was that his parents were continuously fighting and he was not ready to stay with them. You can understand the psyche of that boy, He was in a way running away from his parents. And this young boy at the age of 19 had diabetes and had high blood pressure. This was one case. The second was a girl. I would not call her a girl because she was 32 and she was doing her PG, post graduation. I was teaching her in final year, and her in-laws used to beat her up, and so she left them and she was living with her parents here. She would behave in a very weird kind of a manner. If she saw a boy and a girl talking, she would come and shout at them, Now, this is another psychological problem. You can understand it is all because of the disturbances that they've been facing in their life. Now, and they're not able to cope up with them. Madam Shobha would agree because she's a counselor and she would understand how the psyche is basically developed. My suggestion was then to my college, and this is how yoga came to our college. I said that we should have a counseling center is fine, but then we should also have a diploma in yoga or something like MA in yoga. And when Dr. Yugandhar came to our place, I remember, I don't know whether he remembers, that was the year when MA in yoga was introduced in our college. That was in 2013-14, the first batch. And since then, so many students have started enrolling for you. It started with 60 seats and now it is 180 seats. This boy, what I'm talking about, who was in second year of his commerce, UG commerce, who had come from Delhi. I told him first, go to the counseling cell and please discuss your problem. He said, "Nahi, ma'am, mujhe aapse samajhna hai." So whatever I could do, I used to tell him, do this, do that. Asked him to join Art of Living, go for a happiness course. Because when you are in such a community, like just Master Shivo said, if you are in a community with spiritual friends around, you can get lot of support and help from such friends, which your classmates may not understand. And this is how, and then later on he did his PG in yoga. Why in yoga you would become, with those asanas, they say that you become flexible physically. And of course, we know the in-depth of so many things that we are not going to discuss here. Because I'm just talking about students right now. For such people who are not into spirituality, we can just ask them to, live happily and call their parents and tell them it is the foundation that you have to lay when they are small, when they are with you in the school. When that foundation is strong, he will definitely become a good human being. So much depends upon the upbringing. Parents ask them, that there has to be a competition. You have to come first in the class. Naturally, the child would want, as he grows up, the best everywhere. He will not want to lose. He will go into depression. So he should be told that if once you have done something good, now it's the other child's chance, So I think the remedy lies not when you grow up, that is too late. It should be somewhere in the, formative years, somewhere in the school. And that is how even yoga started in the school. Thanks to Modi ji for this. So, and with that, I think the students will come up and slowly, definitely, because in this World United group that we have, 2 of my students are joined in because I was teaching them Jiddu Krishnamurti. And my PG class, when we are teaching philosophy to them, so they really come so close to you that seeking happiness, how is it, ma'am? This was one lecture that we had. On self, how is it, ma'am? And we used to take one lecture for almost 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And this is the age when they can drift towards spirituality. So spirituality is definitely going to help them, but in the later years, But in the formative years, it's the parents' duty that they should, make them strong, flexible, and confident children. Confident
Thank you.
adults. Yes.
Thank you, Jyotiji, for sharing that.
Yes.
So next, we'd like to hear from Dr. Sirishji.
Yes, I take liberty to speak about the principles which I have followed. Rather, it may be in line with what earlier speakers have said about. What I want to convey is depression leading to suicide means person doesn't want to face the situation, or wants to run away from the situation. But actually, what I feel that best part of life is learning to live with yourself. That's what I feel. And what Krishna, are you in a position to listen to me? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, what Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita, I mean, advice to Arjuna rather, means Arjuna on the battlefield was not ready to fight. He didn't want any bloodshed for the piece of land. So what Krishna advised him, ki matra sparshastu kauntaya sitoshna sukha dukkada agama payino nityastanti stikshastu bharata. This happiness and sorrows will come and go like a season, like your rainy season, summer and winter. They will come and go. But you should be like a Sthita Prajna. So non-judgmental, be silent, and just look at me because everything is under my control. That's what advice he gave. And probably it appealed to me rather because I don't react to any situation. Sorrows and happiness is one and same for me. And we should learn to live with yourself. That's what I feel.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So next, Shobhaji, so we'd like to hear from you. I know you did address this point slightly in your previous sharing, but yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, there are several factors. I think I have in detail explained about what played a role in abetting a suicide or pushing a person into extreme action like this. However, the solution, I think we need to clearly differentiate between clinically depression. In depression also we have mild, moderate, severe. Mild and moderate is something wherein close aid, like a good family who is observing their moods, anybody in the family or in the work, or a teacher like Jyoti ma'am or a friend like Yugandhar sir, I think would have done a great job. Okay, that is enough, for anybody to bring back and see the sunny side of life. But then there are cases wherein people are not talking, they're not in a position to listen to you, and they're not even engaging in meaningful conversations. Now we see that in a situation like lockdown, even we are not in a position, although we are friends or a family members, we don't know what exactly is happening. But the hints are definitely the messages, the phone calls, the moods, the way of communicating. I think people should be aware at the slightest hint that you are getting. I think you should urge people who are close to them that they should be taken care of or put into people. Like how Bosle sir's case happened. I think you were in IIT and then you were put into your family. That is when you again started flourishing and started seeing the sunny side, right? So the same way, the family plays a very bigger role, friends play a bigger role, teachers, mentors. I think you're all doing a great job. But when it comes to that line, if somebody is just below the baseline, yes, we can help them. But they are way below the baseline. I think you should seek that mental help for mental health, and we should not have a stigma around seeking help for mental health issues. Is what my opinion is. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So basically, based on the severity of it, try to get yourself around where you have the support system that best suits your level. Okay.
We are all, we all fall into just below. When we are also upset with few things and things not going in our way, that is just below. In that moment, a good talk or a friend talking to us will help us. But some people are way below it where you cannot reason. No amount of Gyan session will not help. For them, you will have to take them clearly.
I would like to make a point on meditation. May I?
Sure. Yeah, sure, sir. Go ahead.
What happens is most of the people do not have the right idea of meditation. They think meditation means just sit and do some mantra. Actually, wrong meditation can be harmful to the individual. meditation or even pranayama should not be learned through videos or just by listening to some audios. There are specific techniques, and these have to be taught by a qualified master, which we call guru. A yoga master should teach you how to do pranayama. Simple thing like the movement of the abdominal wall makes a lot of difference. Either it can benefit you or harm you. Similarly, meditation cannot be learned by ourselves. A guru has to initiate us, and it should be in the school of thought which is in harmony with your school of thought. It cannot be opposite. So if you do not believe in a system and then you want to practice that particular mantra, later on it will create conflicts. So again, when we talk about meditation, we have to be specific to the clients or patients that you should get initiated by a guru or a school from a school of thought which suits your value system. So I think this is important. Simply sitting and meditating, some people overdo it. Some people go into kumbhaka, that is stopping their breath, which can be harmful. Nothing. Meditation is very specific and it is very simple, but it has to be taught by learned from a guru. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, sir. So before we go to Dr. Yugandhar, so Dr. Manohar garu, so last time I know you did express the interest of exploring the spiritual side of this, but would you share us your views on the root causes and yeah.
Regarding suicide, everybody knows what is happening and all. I was interested only in spiritual aspects. What can be done through spirituality? How we can change the mood of the person? How we can help that person in that spiritually? I think we will discuss later on regarding this.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So finally we have Dr. Yugandhar, sir. So if you could share your side as a conclusive way for today's session, your views, and also we have a few questions from Rajneesh earlier on Siddhi aspect as well, Samadhi aspect as well. So if you could share us your views on the root causes and how we should address this, would be thankful.
Okay. What I always feel is mental illness can be perceived at any phase of life. Even a childhood phase, in the form of dyslexia, in the form of so many types of learning disabilities, autism, different names are there. For every set of symptomatology, there is a name. It may occur in even teenage, in the form of so many types of mental maladies like loneliness, depression, love affairs, conflicts, internal friction. The medical jargon is endless to address all these problems. Once a person gets married, most of the psychiatric formats will come up to the surface, I think, because that is a time and space when the real clash between the head and heart will show up in a magnanimous way. Maybe during his job, friction with colleagues, his boss, and once children are born, the problems get doubled up. So the mental illnesses whatsoever, in whichever phase of life they appear, deep down, it starts in a very early stage. This is what I personally feel always. Most often, the root cause of any mental illness, trivial or very big, has got roots in childhood. So that is a phase of life when every child should be, someone asked the spiritual side of treating these mental illnesses. My first presentation would be on educating the child during the school phase, first 15 years of life. Very, very important, because in school and at home, we teach them mathematics, we teach them languages and sciences, but never emotional harmony. We never teach them emotional harmony. We don't know what is that, because it is not in the curriculum. It is not in the CBSE system or state syllabus or ICSE. That is a problem with the educational system. The education system has to be reformed in such a way that every child has to be educated holistically in terms of his intellect, in terms of his emotional balance. Both are very, very important. I feel that a room should be there, a space in the school where every child should be made to enter into that room, and all types of insults should be showered upon him. All bad words should be showered upon him, so that he listens to all types of bad words repeatedly and becomes immune. So even if he grows up, oh, all these words I have heard already during my childhood, and he becomes immune. Some types of slaps, sometimes in a very cunning way, all types of insults in a trivial way, a low stimulus, like, small viral load can cause a lot of immunity. Small emotional virus, if it enters in the childhood, it brings a very, very powerful immunity, emotional immunity. This is what I personally feel. Because mental illness is most often related to emotions, because we have a lot of thoughts, academically very sound, everything is okay, but emotionally, once a child enters into the teenage, different types of feelings come, and a lot of clash between head and heart emerge. All these problems come. And if he enters even a glamorous field, to maintain the status of the glamour, reputation, and whatsoever things related to that, and when it is not fulfilled, he commits suicide. He wants to end his life, so that he doesn't want to face the reality. So inability to face the reality is basically the root cause of all mental illnesses. So we have to make every child show the face of reality. If a child is really fearful, let him get exposed to what he is fearing most. So he has to write down what he is fearing for. Write down, face them. The teacher has to make the child face them. So that type of education must come into the picture practically, not theoretically, but practically. Every child should have insult room. This is only a proposal or idea I'm doing. Though I'm talking in a funny way, I really mean it. And methods of coming out of these mental illnesses. See, mental illness is basically, as I told, conflict between two seemingly opposite thoughts, conflict between thoughts and feelings, rather. So when opposites are there in the mind, they keep on fighting with each other inside the mind, and the person takes some decision, very bad decision of committing suicide or whatsoever. The solution should start before the problem arises. In the very early childhood, the child should be exposed, as I told, insult room. He must also be exposed to meditation room or silence room. So the other room in the school, every room should be a room of silence. Let us not call meditation or religious room, whatever. Let us call room of silence. Let the child sit silently with the idea of creating inner silence, or every period in the school should start with few minutes of silence, real silence. The teacher must educate, motivate the children to sit for silence for a few minutes. Maybe 2 minutes is enough, more than enough for a child. Maybe for 5 minutes for a class 10 student, or maybe more for plus 2 student. So, but few minutes before the period starts, every period starts, I think this is the best way of working on the children in a preventive way. Why I'm emphasizing on the children is the roots of every mental illness starts in childhood. Though it may not appear, it may not be perceivable the childhood stage, but roots always lie in the childhood stage. So before the disaster strikes, let us prepare the child in a very, very positive way. So even if when mental illness strike, we must, the most important principle for any healer, counselor, psychiatrist, doctor, neighbor, friend, father, parent, whoever it is, the first thing we have to make him realize that all these are passing clouds. As long as we make him realize that these are all passing clouds, I think he will definitely come out. A commune system, a strong commune, a social commune is very much required to clear the clutter of these afflicted people. So a strong, for example, we already created some small commune here in the form of the World United when person comes into this community, definitely, yes, we always talk of only positive things. Don't talk about any negative things. And definitely, howsoever negative a person is, will definitely just much more improved. His emotional health will be definitely much more better. This is my feeling. And as far as the Siddhi or hibernation is concerned, I would like to present you all a case of, there is one organization in Punjab called as Divya Jyoti Jagaran Samiti, something like that. His founder, Ashutosh Maharaj, vacated his body officially a few years back, maybe I think 3 or 4 years back or a little more. I don't remember exactly. But the disciples of Ashutosh Maharaj feel that he's still there, but in the form of Samadhi, and didn't allow the High Court or his progeny to cremate the physical body. So the dead body is still there. The dead body is still there in the ashram, protected in ice blocks and all. 20 security guards are continuously guarding that room, day in and day out. And everybody is believing that he will come out of that. The High Court has ordered the Department of Forensic Medicine, Punjab, to review the body every 6 months for any signs of decomposition. Until date, even for 3-4 years, the body is not getting decomposed, and still it is maintaining the status quo. So we don't know. There are so many mysteries in the life when there are some other state or so-called estivation or so-called hibernation states are present. Because there are so many animals also. For example, polar bear, he sits in the caves for almost 6 months without food and water. So when animals are able to survive for 6 months without food and water, there are so many invertebrates who can stay for years together without food and water, without any food. So when it is happening for so many invertebrates and even vertebrates like polar bear, it is possible to some selected people who are into the practice of self-mastery and samadhi of this type. It is always a possibility, but it has to be scientifically much explored and expounded to present itself in a very proper way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I just would like to summarize of what all we learned from all of you. So first of all, I would like to say thank you for each and every one of you for sharing your views on the specific social topic that we recently have faced. So we learned so far from all of you the root causes, how do we identify the mental illness like suicidal traits, and what are the root causes? We heard could be social influence, the lack of proper growing up, childhood education, copycat mentalities, etc. And we also heard various views on how do we treat this? How do we cultivate the traits and the characters starting from childhood with the proper support system, proper family system, proper education system, things like having silence rooms in schools, starting from very early childhood, and also having the feeling or friendship with love, loving yourself, or friendship with love. So thank you so much for sharing all of this. I myself have learned quite a lot by hearing so many different views based on your personal experiences that come from different walks of life, which is the very reason for creating this, the World United platform, to bring the common consciousness to the next level. I know would like to hear more and more, and hoping to share and hear more and more on this platform for many more sessions to come. Thank you so much. Would like to conclude today's session. So hope to hear from all of you again. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank